Welcome back to another episode on the Hermitcraft server. This is episode 31, and today we are starting things off once again in the industrial district. In the previous Hermitcraft episode, I built up this kelp farm. It provided me with a decent number of curveballs and a decent number of headaches. I essentially wanted to break the mold a little bit with kelp farms, and I wanted to do one that fit within a small space. It was completely vertical, it could be switched off, and all of the kelp could be harvested independently. Now, I designed it, and I designed it with a number of design flaws. To put it plainly, I designed it as a redstone contraption, not really thinking about how it would work as a farm. Like, the redstone worked, it detected the kelp, and it broke it, but I didn't really think about the water streams and where the kelp would go, and anything like that. But thankfully, I managed to work everything out with a very large quantity of signs, and now we are getting heaps of kelp pouring out into this chest right here. And today, I'm going to convert that kelp into dried kelp, then into dried kelp blocks, then into fuel for the dried kelp creator, but also fuel for my industrial smelter. So let's pop into the redstone testing world and get to work on some designing. So our kelp runs into this double chest right here. It is then going to go into a pair of furnaces down at the bottom here. Do smokers work with kelp? I imagine they do. What is my inventory? How in creative mode do I suffer from the same issues that I have in survival mode? So if I chuck some kelp in here, okay, perfect. We will use smokers. That is great. So we've got these hoppers here. Those run into the smokers. Our dried kelp will come out of here and be automatically crafted into dried kelp blocks. Now we're going to have our output line go this way. I actually think I'm going to do a setup a little bit like this. So we've got our crafter down at the bottom there, and then when that fills up, it will send the items up like this. So let's just quickly get that one going. When more slots are filled, it will power the redstone line, and something like that should work. So as our dried kelp comes in, there we go, crafted up, and it's gone through into this hopper, through into here. And because the smoker is currently filled up with dried kelp blocks, it is staying there. Okay, this is perfect. But now I've started thinking about things, and I've realized that if, say, this smoker right here, which is kind of the backup smoker for when this starts overflowing, only gets like a handful of kelp, it's actually not profitable for it to craft dried kelp blocks and use them as fuel, because there's a chance we're just burning more kelp than it's actually smelting. So you might need to put in like a holding system for it. Okay, time to over-engineer this thing. Right, we've got our starting double chest. We've got our hoppers and our two smokers. Now, when each of these hoppers goes over a certain value, then it will release a bunch of items. So that is one side, this is the other side. This is a bulky redstone contraption, but I don't really care. It's for a farm. Farms aren't meant to be compact. Let's give this a quick test. So we've got our hopper here, and if we just start putting kelp in, you can see it will gradually fill up until it gets to around about 23, and then the circuit kicks in, all of the kelp flows out, and 8 pieces have come out. Is there a way that I can make this 9? Yes. Okay, that's great. So that means that every single time we get a kelp block's worth of items coming in, a kelp block's worth of items will come out. So at the very least, we will break even on our kelp blocks. Next up on the to-do list, I'm going to add in the circuit that detects when we need fuel for our dried kelp smokers. So I'm effectively going to have it so that the smokers always have a full stack of dried kelp inside of them, and then when we get an extra one, the comparator will detect it, and then we will lock these hoppers somehow, potentially just with pistons and redstone blocks. It's a bit of a dirty solution, but that's fine. All right, this seems a little bit more elegant. We don't have to deal with powering problems over here. So then our items make their way over to this crafter here, and then the items will be shot up this item elevator, travel along this hopper line, potentially drop down into the dried kelp smelters, but if they don't, and if the dried kelp smelters are filled, then they will travel off into the storage system in this output line. So the final part of the circuit is just the auto crafter and the little item elevator, which will take the items upwards, and you can see that is now all working. So you've got one dried kelp block that just stays in the item elevator. That is absolutely fine. Items travel up. Currently, the smokers are completely filled. So we've got no extra items going in there. All of the dried kelp is going to the output. Everything seems to be working properly. If there's enough items, both sets of hoppers will be completely unlocked, but what I imagine will happen is one of the furnaces will get the bulk of the items, the other one will just be picking up the overflow, so occasionally will stack up. And gradually, my number of kelp blocks is slowly increasing. So now let's build it on the Hermitcraft server. I guess there is one thing that I probably should have checked before I started on this, but I'm going to check now before I build up the entire redstone contraption. Can you make smokers with blocks of bamboo? No! No! I guess that's because you have to craft smokers with bark blocks, which is really frustrating, mainly because I have none. So I've got 2 smokers, and I'm just going to make sure that just 2 smokers can keep up with the output of my kelp farm. I both hope that they can, because then I don't have to redesign that redstone contraption, but I also hope that they can't, because then that means my kelp farm is really nice and fast. Sometime later... Okay, it's keeping up. It's keeping up just fine. We are actually right on the limit of what I thought it would be, which is, generally speaking, this smoker is doing the majority of the smoking, but then occasionally kelp will leak into the other one. So I'm very glad I did all of that extra circuitry. That was time well spent. Because look at this. 1 piece of coal has just been used for creating 1 piece of dried kelp. If you imagine this coal was dried kelp blocks, that would have been a lot of dried kelp used to smelt up 1 piece of dried kelp. The word dried kelp is starting to lose all meaning, and I'm beginning to get scared. Right, let's quickly build up this redstone contraption, shall we? And I thought this would work better as a time lapse, because obviously you've seen me go through the decision-making exercise in the redstone testing world. So this was just a simple copy and paste, effectively, from my redstone testing world into the Hermitcraft server. And then I had a brief freak out where I thought I had done everything completely incorrectly and nothing was working, but realized I was wrong, everything was functioning, and now our kelp is being automatically crafted, automatically smelted, and automatically split. So now it's time to build the thing that it's splitting off to. And that, of course, is my Supersmelter. Now, I'm going to try my best to design this thing myself. We shall see how that goes. But here's what I'm thinking, right? So our kelp blocks are going to make their way along, and then when we get more than... Yeah, let's go with 23. That's how many furnaces we're going to have. Yeah, so when we get 23 kelp blocks in the final hopper, then a little hopper minecart will transfer the kelp blocks over into all of the furnaces, and they will all be automatically fueled up. And then we will have a kind of similar system up at the top for dropping in items. I think all of this makes sense. All of this definitely seems possible, and it definitely seems like something that I should be able to create. So again, let's hop into the redstone testing world. I'm now hyper conscious of that after the Joe Hill's redstone tutorial. Okie doke. Right, let's see how well this goes. So we need something like this. So once we get a power level of 2 going through this comparator, that piston will retract. That's not compact. Okay, I've just realized I'm doing this into the top of the furnaces. It functionally makes no difference. I just want to make sure that the redstone is actually functioning. I've just been doing a little bit of thinking, and it makes no sense that I only drop off items going in this direction. It makes a lot more sense that I do it in both directions. It splits the number of trips in half. So this minecart will only move when it has 43 items on the inside of it. So if I put a bunch of kelp up at the top here, we should see that it will begin to fill up. Now, obviously, this would be with kelp blocks, but again, these hoppers are going into the top of the furnaces, so I've had to do regular kelp instead. But when this gets to 46, it will start moving. Doesn't matter, it's 47. The kelp will start going in up here as well, but this is going to come back. There should be only a couple left. Each one of these furnaces has got 2 on the inside of it. This will continue filling up. All of the kelp has been evenly distributed. Okay, this is all working properly. We should now go up to 4 in every single furnace. Excellent news. This is all working. It's been a very long time since I have designed a super smelter. I genuinely think the last time I had one was once again in Hermitcraft Season 7. So that is, 4 years ago now. Okay, total even distribution. Right, let's get this built on the Hermitcraft server. It shouldn't be too much of a challenge. Oh, I guess I should quickly explain a little bit about super smelters, because I'm kind of making the assumption that everyone understands why you would want one and how they operate. Essentially, a super smelter activates a bunch of furnaces all at once, and the reason that we want to distribute all of the items evenly is so that every single smelter within the system always has the same amount of fuel. I know that may seem fairly obvious to a lot of you, but if someone hasn't built a super smelter before, then all of this might be a bit confusing. We genuinely might have to bend our super smelter around a corner. I don't know if I've got enough space to build one here. So that is 10 furnaces. Or are we going to just about squeak it in? I don't actually think we are. No, definitely not. That is maths. 16. Okay, it's 16. We need to get to 23. So I'm going to go around this corner here. And that is 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Okay, so our super smelter is a bit of a weird one. I'm not gonna lie, I don't think I've ever built an L-shaped super smelter before. Oh my goodness, I've just realized I made the same mistake that I made in the redstone testing world. I was about to put all the items into the top. So instead of this being the kelp chest, that is going to be the input chest for the items that you want to smelt, and then I'm going to put the kelp chests somewhere else. Part of me is almost considering hooking one of these up to an automatic crafter of chests. That's one of the main reasons why I have this bamboo farm, and it seems useful to just have tons of chests on tap. Cool. Okay, now it is time for the redstone. So this is where our detector rail is going to be going. So we're going to have a comparator output coming from there. This is going to be going into our piston and bits. Then we're going to have another one of these circuits for the input of the items that we want to smelt. So that's going to be going over here. This probably all looks a little bit strange given that you've got no powered rails or rails to reference. Feels like I'm just building a theoretical redstone contraption. One day I will learn how minecart rails work, so that I'm not nervous when placing them in situations like this. I just always assume they're going to connect up wrong and everything's going to break and I'm going to be upset. But everything seems to be all good at the minute. All of the rails are in. Everything is looking lovely. We have got our little minecart hopper stoppers all gradually going in place now. Beautiful stuff. This is good fun. I absolutely love the fact that these minecart-based super smelters have all of the redstone at one end and then everything else is just simple furnaces and rails. Those rails are now powered. The only thing that I'm slightly worried about is this corner, because minecarts are weird. I guess we're about to find out what happens. My output chest is going to be over here again. These are all kind of temporary locations, although, to be honest with you, I don't know where I should put the output chest for the super smelter. It feels like it shouldn't be in a centralized location. I think I actually like the idea of putting it on the inside here, because that means that both halves of this thing can actually run into the chest, because I think 23 furnaces will actually output slightly, and I mean very slightly, faster than the hopper speed. Bear in mind, I could be wrong there. What on earth has happened to my vision? Why am I gradually zooming in? Something has happened, and I'm unfamiliar with what it is. I've relogged. If this stays, then I guess it's the end of the Hermit. Send help. Genuinely send help. What combination of keys have I pressed? There's nothing that I can do. I can't zoom out or anything. Oh no. It's even in F5 mode. This is not cinematic mode. Look, I can turn off cinematic. It doesn't change. I'm just zoomed in. Okay, I've restarted my computer. Please. Thank goodness. If anyone can explain what just happened, I would love to hear it. That's enough funny business. Let's see if our super smelter is actually working. Everything should all be in place for this to function, so I'm going to put a bunch of coal into here, and this will begin to fill up. I don't know why I'm so incredibly nervous. It makes no sense why I'm so... Why should I be nervous? But I am. But it's gradually counting up. We should see it'll probably go to 47. It's moving. It's moving and it's distributing. It's made the corner. So that's really good. Now I am so curious. What are we on? We've got two. We've got two. Those are the ones that I was worried about. Okay. Yes. It is all working properly. Everything is being distributed correctly. This is extremely good news. Now, I guess just to be safe, let's also test and see if this top one is working. Okay, it has traveled off. We've got 2 in all of them. Now, because I filled up the double chest, this will actually work a little bit faster because, of course, our hopper minecart can grab the items a lot quicker. But this is all good. It looks like it is 3 all the way across. If I pop out to here, we should see that all of the items are flowing into this double chest really quite quickly. I absolutely love watching super smelters function. Nice one. Nice one. Nice one. Okay, so our super smelter is complete. The kelp creator is also complete. This is a very strange looking redstone contraption, but all of it is working properly. Gradually over time, we should get a decent storage of dried kelp blocks that we can use within the super smelter. But there is one extra circuit that I've been debating about, and I think it would be fun to build and also incredibly useful. I absolutely love the kelp system. I think it works great, and I'm sure it will keep up with demand. But say we do a bunch of smelting and it uses up all the kelp blocks. This thing takes quite a long time to refill up. You know what doesn't? All of the bamboo. Like, I think we're always going to have a large quantity of bamboo. So as some emergency fueling, I might make a little hopper minecart station down here that can be requested with the press of a button by the super smelter, and it will come over and drop 5 stacks of bamboo planks off at the super smelter to be used as fuel. Each bamboo plank can smelt 3 items, so that's 15 stacks of items, which should hopefully be more than enough. Let's get to work on building this thing. So the first thing that I have to do is build up a minecart unloader up at the top here. So this should go something like this. I guess I don't want a regular rail there. I also need to be very careful of items dropping down into this minecart hopper. As long as there are items flowing through this hopper here, then our minecart rail will be unpowered. As soon as items stop flowing through the hopper, then the minecart rail will be powered. Pretty nice and easy. Okay, so that is our item unloader sorted. Now we just need to create the long minecart track, which is going to take all of our bamboo over to the super smelter. Now, I want this to be nice and fast because we're going to be using this in emergency situations, so I'm going all in on the powered rails. I also accidentally crafted a bunch of them in the previous Hermitcraft episode, so I have a bit of a surplus. So the minecart rail is all pretty much in place. This is the final section, so this winds its way around this area here and makes its way up along the edge of the sugarcane farm and then goes over to the super smelter. It looks pretty ridiculous, but in a cool industrial way. I'm finally having to buy some redstone. My redstone supplies from the previous episode have run out. They lasted an embarrassingly short amount of time, to be honest with you. I've decided I'm going to put the button here. There is no real reason as to why I'm putting the button here, but it feels like a good spot for it. And you know what? I'm gonna make the redstone line out of gold as well. It just feels right that an emergency redstone line would be made out of gold blocks. I don't know why. Then I need to transition to the other side of the sugarcane farm, so that should work like that. And now I need to cover this up so that we don't lose a bunch of sugarcane. Cool. Okay, and then our redstone line makes its way down here, and then we'll connect up with the minecart rail over there. It is amazing to me how messy this area is compared to like the perfectly manicured and well-made space that I've been working on for the past 20 or something episodes. It's almost like I've gone on a binge. You know, I've been caring so much about how everything looks over there that now it's just like this space. I just don't want to care in the slightest. I'm letting myself go. I'm letting loose. I'm going wild. I could build stuff out of diorite if I really wanted to. All right, let's see how well this goes. So I've got my hopper minecart here, and that is going to sit underneath here. Cool. That should immediately start picking up bamboo. That is the beauty of these hopper minecarts. They work incredibly quickly. So then if I fly over to this area and press the button, we should see our little rescue minecart making its way along. I don't know why this is so funny to me. Like, this is just the sort of silly redstone contraption that you build. But I don't even know how often I'm going to use this, but I kind of want to run out of kelp blocks often so that I get to use my emergency minecart system. Like, there's nothing stopping me just flying over to where the bamboo is. But it just feels so much better to have this set up right here. So there we go. All of the bamboo planks, they are being distributed between all of the furnaces in the super smelter, so they should be evenly split up. Obviously, currently they have coal on the inside of them. This is a false emergency. I'm actually fully fueled up. But then eventually, once all of the fuel runs out, then our little minecart should automatically travel off to where it came from. There it goes. It has done its duty, and it is literally going off into the sunset. This is probably the best thing I've ever made. Which makes me realize I have got a lot of contraptions that I need to add to the database. The database is this contraption right here, which stores all of my redstone contraptions. You could say it's like an extension of my brain, and I have not been keeping up with it in the slightest. I think the most recent contraption I added into the mix was contraption number 3. And I am genuinely curious what it actually is. It is the database. No way. Oh no, we've got the elevator. Of course, the 2-cart multi-item sorter, but that is as far as we have gone. Okay, we've got a lot of inventions to add. So, I've taken a look back through the archives, and now I have a whole bunch of books that I need to collect. I mean, I guess... Wait, I've got loads of leather, and I have a decent chunk of paper, but I have no feathers or ink. I'm assuming nobody sells just regular book and quills, do they? Book and quills are pretty high on the list of items in Minecraft that are like really useful, especially on multiplayer servers, but are just ridiculously annoying to gather the items for. So you never have them. They're frustrating to craft, but also they're not really profitable to sell in a shop. So nobody does. I definitely could be wrong. You guys seem to know more about the Hermitcraft server than I do. There is a chance there is a shop for this that I'm completely forgetting, but no. I don't think I'm wrong. Okay, fine, I'll murder the innocent animals. Why are there never squid when you want squid? Okay, that was actually a surprisingly successful massacre. Now I can't seem to find chicken. Or the world. Why does it have to be in the most precarious location a chicken has ever been? Finally, I'm all geared up. Invention number 6 was the Poe door, created on July the 20th, 2024. Garage door that retracts into the ground upon the shooting of a target. Future theme song may be installed by the Popo. Invention number 7 was the Iron Mine Vator, created on July the 30th. It's a carriage-style short elevator that descends potential customers into a foam mine where they collect iron. Invention number 8 is the Mine Thruster, created on August the 5th, 2024. A sound effect creator which builds the illusion of being deep in the mines despite only being 4 blocks under the ground. 009, Papercraft, crafts raw sugarcane into paper for use in firework rockets, the first invention of the industrial district. Then we come into the recent ones, the slim kelp farm that we built in the previous Hermitcraft episode. And finally, of course, all of the inventions that we came up with in today's Hermitcraft episode. So let's chuck all of those back into the mix. And now I'm finally going to create the index that is going to go in position 00. Oh, would you look at that? We have gone over to page number 2. We've been doing a lot of inventing lately. My brain is expanding. The database is getting bigger. I've really enjoyed this slightly old school Hermitcraft episode. This has felt like an episode from season 7. I had a fairly simple objective that I've succeeded in completing in weird and wonky ways. And that is what my Hermitcraft episodes are all about. I hope that you've enjoyed, and I'll catch you in the next one. See ya!